Hi there, everyone. Welcome to College News. My name is Tom Woodford. I'm here with three seniors from Hilliard City Schools. Today, we're going to talk about just the senior year, advice for rising seniors and rising juniors through this whole process. And I'm going to be asking questions, and these three young people are going to answer them and just and help everybody through this whole process. So first of all, if you guys could tell us your name, where you go to school, and where you plan to go, and what you are going to study.
Hi, I'm Ruthba, and I'm a senior at Hilliard Bradley, and I'm going to study both data science and financial economics at Barnard College at Columbia University.
That is great. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ashley. I go to Hilliard Darby and I will be studying biological sciences in the Honors Tutorial College at Ohio University.
Wonderful. And James?
My name is James. I go to Hilliard Davidson. I will be going to the United States Military Academy, West Point. I will be studying defense and strategic studies.
Outstanding. So the reason why that I've chosen you three is obviously the pathways for each of you here is very different. And so I think the scope of what you can offer all of the students in Hilliard through all of your experiences is just going to be very, very helpful. And so that's why that I've reached out to all of you. I can't thank you enough. I know I've learned a lot from each of you, and I know that you're going to help all of the students here. So let's talk about this process. There's a lot going on, from applications to essays to all of the other things that are going on. Can you tell us, and Ashley, we can start with you, how did you keep yourself organized through all of this process?
Reminders on my phone saved me, to be completely honest, because it's something I always have on me. So I would just sit there. The second I saw there was a deadline for something, I would tell Siri to make me a reminder. So then that way I immediately saw it when it was due, knew I had to work on it, and I could get it done that way. And that helped me a lot more than like having to get out a planner every time I needed to do something or something like that. So that was really helpful to me, was just setting these daily reminders on my phone to get things done.
Great. James?
My experience has kind of been a lot of spreadsheets and documents. My parents and I have been very intensive on making sure we write down all the deadlines and kind of set it up in a layout that's easy to comprehend. And if you can print something out, print it out, because, you know, things on paper are more easily remembered than things on your phone or on your computer. And if you can have something physical that you hang up in your room or put in the office or whatever, you're going to kind of be reminded the moment you see it. And that's a lot easier on remembering those deadlines than just having it out on the web somewhere for me.
For me, I like making like a big checklist of everything I have to finish, but more importantly, narrowing it down like week by week and taking it day by day. Even like on Monday, I'll work on my Common App essay, and Tuesday, I'll work on the activity section, just making small goals and accomplishing those one at a time.
That is great. Did you guys have a special place at home that was kind of like your college central where you worked on all of this?
Yes.
Yeah, I have this big like container almost under my desk, and it got filled with all my college papers. It's where I like had my laptop, everything happened there. So it was all around my desk so I could easily reach it and I knew where everything was.
That's great. James?
Oh, no, I definitely did. I kind of used my mom's office for everything. And I have like a big old container, just like Ashley, full of documents and papers and various resources for college applications.
That's great.
And I'm the same way. I have like all my things surrounded on my desk, papers and folders, and just have it all in one place, easy to access.
Yeah, that's one piece of advice I would give everybody, is to find your place, that's where you're going to keep everything. Make files. I think you guys have all mentioned that already. Make files instead of piles, because that's when things might get lost. So talk about college visits. I know that all of you went on multiple visits. If you could just let us know maybe how many you had been on, what you learned from them? What are specific questions that you felt like needed to be answered? And Ruth Ball, we can start with you.
I went on about 5 or 6, and I thought it was really important to me to ask about what programs they offer. Like me, I want to follow like a niche path of business and technology. So it's really important to me to ask like how that works if their business school and their engineering school combines, and if there's a program for that. So that was something I always looked out for on my college visits.
Okay, Ashley?
Yeah, so I went on about 4 college visits, and for me, the biggest thing I was able to gauge from this was what the environment looked like. So how the students interacted with each other, what they offered as a campus with like regards to community activities, things like that. That was huge for me because that's something I couldn't really look up on the internet as easily. So it gave me a really good feel for how I would fit into that campus, and I think that was the most important part for visits for me. Yeah.
Okay, James?
I only went on about 3 college visits, but I think an important piece you want to get from a college visit is kind of the general atmosphere of a college. And you kind of really want to know that's where you're going to want to be, and that's the kind of right people you want to be surrounded by. I think it's important that you go and get away from your parents a little bit. If you can go on your own, I think that's very beneficial because you don't really need your parents' mouth in your ear kind of pushing you the way that they want you to go, instead of just carving your own path through it. Because I mean, when you go to a university, you're gonna be on your own. Your parents aren't gonna be there to hold your hand. So if you can go get immersed, meet the people, like meet different groups, whether they're in the school that you're going to, or they're in the different major group that you haven't even heard about. Kind of getting immersed in that kind of general vibe of the college is very important for determining whether you're going to be able to stay there for 4 years and be happy with the people there.
Very good. How important was it for you guys to ask questions about internships and co-ops? How important was that when you were on your visits?
I feel like a lot of schools do a good job of talking about their programs, especially co-ops and internships, which is nice. But if there's definitely like something specific you're interested in, they usually have a lot of information and they're very willing to share when asked.
Yeah, I noticed that was one of those things that they like to brag about is their internship opportunities and their co-ops that they offer. That was one of those like big talking points that they would use to brag about their institutions. So they usually presented that in like their just general information sessions.
My experience is a little bit different because the internships and co-ops are offered a little bit differently, but it's definitely important for gauging what opportunities you want to access in the future, and a college with the opportunities that you want to kind of go into that career field as well. So it's definitely worth looking into, whether it's something at a university or something at my school where it's more military focused is also important. If you're looking to do something a little bit different than an internship, then kind of learning about that thing at the university where you're planning to go is important as well.
So all of you are going to be living in the dorms. And so about the visits, hopefully you got to see the dorms. You probably didn't get to see the one that the freshmen typically go in. It's usually they take you to the nicest dorm that they have on campus. Tell me what your thoughts were when you were visiting schools and they were talking about housing, and when you asked questions about housing, and then how is housing a part of your decision? Ashley?
Yeah, so my experience was a little bit different just because OU, I'm going in as an honor student, so I get to stay in the honors dorms, which luckily they gave us an idea of those on the tour. We got to see a big thing for me was air conditioning and that laundry was close. And luckily with the honors dorms, I have air conditioning. I have separate showers with doors, which is very nice. That was a big thing for me. And laundry was nearby. So it's just, I was really thinking about those like basic necessities that you kind of like forget about when you're sitting at home. Like, yeah, you have the bathroom right there, you have air conditioning, you have your shower, you have laundry downstairs, but with like you don't really think about, oh, how far am I gonna have to walk to do laundry? Until we were there, I realized, oh, this is kind of a nice perk. So a lot of it I just kind of realized as they were showing me at the honors dorms, and then I would go other places. I was like, oh, is there air conditioning here? How do they have that set up? How far away are the bathrooms? Are they accessible? That kind of thing is really important.
That's great. James?
Yeah, well, the barracks at West Point are a little bit less nice than probably some of the dorms that you're gonna visit, but it's definitely important to get a gauge of how uncomfortable you're gonna have to be being. I think a lot of people are kind of used to being in their home where their parents still do their laundry, and they're having to sleep in their nice foam mattress and their nice pillows and stuff, and you kind of have to be prepared going into it, like, how uncomfortable am I willing to be at this university? Am I going to be prepared to sleep in a hard bed, or am I going to have to share a shower with someone else? You kind of have to go into it with an open mind, understanding that the experience is going to be a little bit different than what you're used to.
Okay. Root Bomb?
Um, for us, our freshman year dorms are unair conditioned and we have really small dorm rooms and bathrooms. And that was a factor that I was okay with just because I know our upperclassmen dorms, since getting off-campus housing in New York is a little unfeasible, they give us upperclassmen dorms that are apartment style. And I thought that was a pretty cool concept. So I was kind of okay with freshman year dorms not being so nice.
So talking about housing, all schools have a different type of requirement. Like James is going to be on campus for 4 years. That's just something that all students have to do there. Is that right, James?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. You're kind of stuck in your bubble.
That's right. That's right. And so, Ashley and Rootball, can you tell us what is the requirement at both of your schools, and maybe even touch on what you heard from other colleges that you maybe visited and what those kind of requirements were?
Yeah, I feel like mine is the pretty standard freshman, sophomore, you're living in dorms, and then your upperclassmen years, you have that opportunity to kind of go off campus, get an apartment or a house if that's what you're wanting to do. And that's pretty similar for other places I was touring, like OSU, that kind of thing. It was kind of the standard that I was noticing.
For us, most people do stay on campus all 4 years. They do allow students to move off campus, but most students choose not to, just because it's not very feasible for them. But I totally agree. Most colleges I visited, like Michigan and Purdue, are definitely first 2 years on campus, last 2 off-campus housing.
That's great. So, we talk a lot about the college essays. I've already sent the prompts out for next year for the current juniors for their fall of their senior year. And all of you, I've talked to you guys a lot, have written multiple essays, honors essays, and various things. And so if you could just maybe talk about the different types of essays that you wrote, but also specifically, what did you write about in the Common App essay, which is limited to 650 words? Rootball, we can start with you.
Okay, so for a lot of my supplemental essays, it was nice because there was a lot of overlap between colleges. A lot will ask, like, why did you pick this major, or tell us something about your background. And those are nice because you can build off the other ones you write. And for my Common App, I actually wrote about how on my weekends, I like to go sit at Panera Bread and do my homework. And while I'm there, I notice other families walk by and I'm easily distracted by the people around me. And I kind of just wrote about that interconnectedness in the world and how I'm excited to experience that in college.
It's great. Ashley?
Yeah, so my Common App essay, I have this whole, I want to do cancer research when I get there, go into cancer medicine. So that was a very big theme for me in all of my writings. My Common App essay, I kind of focused on that and the family dynamics I had along with it. And then for HTC, my essays were, why is this something you want to do? Like, why is biology something you want to do, and why HTC? And I was kind of able to bring in that whole theme throughout all of my essays of something that I'm very passionate in, and use that in different ways for all my essays.
And then James?
Well, I've definitely written a lot of different essays for a lot of different people, whether it's congressional nominations or for the West Point application. And I did fill out the Common App essay, and mine was related to my family's experience with my sister's cancer, and, kind of just how that has shaped me as a person. But for a lot of the other essays, it had a lot to do with, military service. And so I kind of had to cater my goals in the military service to to fit those essays, and it was very transferable to each other, and most of them asked around the same thing. But I think it's important that for those essays that you get them done as soon as possible, because they're not going to be fun to do, but the sooner you can put those down and submit them and get them out of the way and like clean your hands of them and wipe your hands and be like, I'm done, the better it's going to be for you, because the longer you put them off, the more you're not going to want to do them.
Well, James, you just touched on something, that these essays are not going away. Okay. And so I've already sent out the essay prompts for the Common App for next fall already. And so I guess one of my suggestions would be is to begin to work on that Common App essay over the summer. Or if you've already written a rough draft in a class or something, that maybe you could use the summer to edit and things like that. You definitely want to use that time. And so with the essays and the applications and being athletes, and Ashley works all the time, and RuPaul just busy in clubs and just part of time. I mean, you guys are the pillars of Hilliard. And so, but you're a pillar in many different ways. And with that comes all this college stuff added on to it. Now we've got a stress level that's a little different. So I guess if you guys could tell me, I guess, how did you handle this stress? All of you handled it very differently. I have firsthand experience with that. And what time of the year was more stressful for you? I've talked to students in the past. They found the application process to be the most stressful. I talked to other students that it was after they submitted and the waiting on decisions to come out. Others were waiting on the financial aid to come out. And then others, many times, I have students in the month of April, the most confident kids in Hilliard schools are in my office, stressed out, worried, sick, because they have to make a decision typically by May 1st. And they're more worried about making the wrong choice than they are dialed in on making the right choice. So if you could tell me, how did you handle stress, and what time of the year was the most stressful for you? Ashley, we'll start with you.
Yeah, well, I would say I didn't necessarily handle the stress the best in the beginning. There were a few instances where I was crying in your office over the stress. I allowed it to pile up for a very long time without sharing it or letting it out, or just kind of giving myself some space to breathe and tell myself it's going to be okay. And I definitely, looking back on it now, like, I was adding so much unnecessary pressure to myself that wasn't there with the schools. It wasn't there with my parents. It wasn't there with my teachers. I was doing it with myself. So if I could give any advice on that, it's just to step back and talk it out with someone, so you don't end up like me and just this giant ball of stress that when one thing goes wrong, you're sitting there crying in your college counselor's office. So I definitely wish I managed it a little bit better, but it is an experience that I can now use to help other people not feel that way. And I would say it definitely hit me the hardest around wintertime, because that was when I was waiting to hear if I was getting an interview for HTC. And then I got my interview, and then it was, how am I going to do on this interview? And then waiting for that. And then along with like exams on top of that, things were just kind of piling a lot in the winter. And I noticed that was the hardest time for me personally.
And that was a true story, by the way. That was a very true story. And as soon as she left, I called Dad right away.
Yep.
And his first thing to me was, we knew it was coming. We knew it was coming. So
Yep.
luckily, she felt so comfortable that she was fine doing that in my office, which was just fine. So yeah. How about you, James?
Well, I was lucky enough. I knew I wanted to go to West Point, and West Point's application opens up the February before you're even going into your senior year. So I would have already started my application by now. Sorry. And so I was kind of lucky enough, and over the summer, I kind of spent my time filling out that application while it was kind of mellow, when I wasn't really stressed about it, and I could get it out of the way before the normal college applications really hit. But I'm definitely with Ashley. The stress really hits in the wintertime when you're kind of cranking down on those Common App applications. You're finishing up everything, and you're kind of just waiting to hear back, almost, where you're kind of in that waiting period where it's like, well, I finished everything, what's going to go on now? And I think the important thing is when that's going on is to, one, make sure you've done everything, and two, kind of take it step by step. After you finish your applications, you're kind of not able to do anything, so you can't really stress about the next step at that time. You kind of just have to worry about what's going on in the moment, finish up at school, finish up with sports, finish up with clubs, enjoy the time you have in high school without having to worry about those college applications, because you've already done everything you can. And that waiting period can be very difficult because, you can't do anything, but it's also can be very nice if you reframe it and take it step by step and kind of realize that this is going to be the last moment you have in high school where things are done. So definitely with stress, take it step by step, make sure you're getting everything done, work on those checklists, but try not to overwhelm yourself with thinking about, what's going to happen, and just kind of taking it year by year.
Root bump?
For me, the stress definitely hit around like September, October, especially because I also took the SAT again last October. So on top of Common Apps and essays, I also had that going on. So that was a lot. And then once that November 1st deadline hit, I feel like all that stress like was relieved once I got all those applications in. But I know that a lot of like schools do release their like essay prompts early, so the earlier you can get started, honestly, the better off you are, and you just benefit from it.
I will tell all three of you, one of the greatest parts of my job is getting to celebrate you guys. And I know when RuPaul, when you came down to tell me that you got into your dream school and you were so excited, and we celebrated there in the office. Ashley, same with you. You came down, we were going crazy. I gave you some other good news as well, which would just help with finances. And we just celebrated. We were, and you know how I feel about that school, OU, and I was just so happy because we talked about that program, the Honors Tutorial College, since last year.
Yeah.
And I just know that was a primary focus for you, and I was just so happy. And then James, when your dad sent me a text, I said, give me his number, and I called you on the phone, and I'm celebrating in my kitchen with my wife, and she has never even met you before, and she's celebrating in the background because she's just so happy for all of you. And it is truly a highlight, not only for me, but for you and your parents, but also for the community of Hilliard. It's really exciting. And I know that's one of my favorite pieces of what I get to do every day, is I get to celebrate those things with you. And at all of the various award ceremonies, I've had a chance to see all of you and your parents. And like I said, I love the fact that your parents know me by my first name, and they come right up and speak to me like we are close. And I love that. And you guys truly earned the right to celebrate, have earned the right to be celebrated. And it has just been a treat. So that is just great stuff. And I know it's a stressful time. Each of you had a different time in the school year when it was stressful. But here we are with less than a week left of high school, and it's good seeing smiles on all of your faces. So I guess to wrap things up now, what advice, you guys have given out advice already, but what additional advice would you give to these sophomores and current juniors through this whole process, and maybe to any parents that are also listening through this process? RuPaul, we will start with you.
I think my main piece of advice is when you're writing your essays, you have to write what is true to you. And there is no right or wrong answer when you're writing your essays. There is nothing they're looking for other than you showing your true colors. Like for my Michigan Ross essay, I wrote about how I'm tone deaf, and that was just something I thought was funny and unique about me because I play an instrument, and that's not something you see every day. So yeah, just keep your essays personalized and about yourself, and just keep them honest.
Very good. Ashley?
Yeah, I would say my biggest piece of advice is honestly, like, if you have a college that you think, oh, I could never get into that, I can't get into that, like, there's no point in trying, you just try anyway. Because I remember the day called me down to your office and you were telling me about HTC. And in my head, when you told me those acceptance rates, I was like, there is no way. I'm never getting into this. Not me. This is for other people. This is not for me. But I applied anyway. And I never thought that it would be something that I would get into. And then I did. So you never truly know. And your application will speak for you. You are a talented student. You can do it. Apply anyway, and you'll get way further than you think you will.
Very good. James?
My kind of advice is just to carve your own path. You know, I think that there's a lot of pressure to do certain things, and whether that's, you know, going to Ohio State or Columbus State or out of state or whatever kind of idea you have, if you don't really know what you want to do right now, don't just follow the pack and what they're doing. Figure out what you want to do. Take the extra time and the extra effort to visit colleges and talk to people around you and see what they did and figure out whether that's something you want to do or not. Because at the end of the day, it's about what's best for you. And following someone else's dream or someone else's path because you don't really know what you want to do is not going to end up right. You kind of want to work your way through it, take the steps. Don't say, oh, I'm just going to do this or I'm just going to do that and kind of throw your hands up and surrender and give up. You know, figure out exactly what you want to do or get an idea of it and follow that. Don't follow what everybody else is doing. Follow your own goals.
Well, you guys are just amazing people. You're going to do amazing things in the future. I can't thank you enough for taking the time on a Tuesday evening. I know all of you are busy. I know all of you raced home from what you were doing so you could be here. And I can't thank you enough. And it's been a treat of mine to get to know you as well as all of your families. And please enjoy your last 3 days of high school. Enjoy the celebration next week and enjoy your summer. And so thank you so much. And that is the show.